You're not on the field, court, or ice.
CWall.
You're on the couch. From PG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall. Delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from a hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's CWall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it make them mad, man. CWall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Coaching from the Couch, live from the WBGR Sports Network studios. I am your host, CWall. Thank you so much for joining us this Thursday. And as you can see, I have a special guest. Some of you all may know this very special guest. Welcome. This is Kenneth Foote, for those who don't know. And listen, what's funny, before you even get started, right? Let's just be for real for a minute. I asked him, I said, Kenny, you got a bio? You got something? Like, let me get it, right? Kenny sent me a list. I was like, so what you want me to call you? What's your title? I don't know. But Kenny is, let me make sure I get this right, the founder and athletic director for the Maryland Buccaneers Youth Club. That's one, right? Yes, then there's the Gladiator Sporting Events founder and league organizer.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So let me go back. I almost clicked out of it. The Southern Maryland Conference American Youth Football Commissioner.
Yes, ma'am. That's recent. That's recent.
That's recent. That's something new.
That's as of Sunday.
That's as of Sunday. Yeah, loaded on. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
go ahead and put all that stuff on immediately. And then you are an active member of the Urban Youth Football Coalition of Maryland.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So welcome. And Kenny and I also went to high school together. Shout out to the Bowie High School Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
And we gonna shout out the live studio audience in here, the CWall team. Yay! Everybody's in here. But, before we get started, because we have a loaded conversation. I mean, we were talking about how we wanted to do this, but I think we're going to go into the youth sports. We're going to talk about that because I felt that energy. I felt the energy coming up off that as I was, listing out your illustrious resume and what you do in the area in terms of youth sports. So we're going to go to that first. And then, of course, everyone knows there's big news in the area with the Redskins trading for Case Keenum. So we'll get to that momentarily. And I'm sure that'll engage some very lively conversation. But as we get into that, please make sure you are sharing the show with your DC sports loving family and friends. There's a share button. Share to everybody so they can join into the live conversation. All right, let's get going. So, Kenny, I already gave the kind of your resume, who you are, but feel free to share with everyone. Let us know your background and just everything you're doing right now.
Well, I've been involved in youth sports now for probably the last 8 years. I've been running my organization, the Maryland Buccaneers, for the last 5 years. For the most part, we deal with a lot of youth in the area. We're based out of Clinton, Maryland, the Maryland Buccaneers, but we have kids in our program that come from Alexandria, Virginia, Annapolis, Maryland, Northwest, Southeast. We actually we cover a large footprint, even though we're a pretty small organization. Most recently, I've been involved in a coalition of guys, and we've been dealing with the House Bill 1106. We just actually came from Annapolis today when some of my colleagues had a chance to speak. I did not have a chance to speak today. I spoke on it last year. I was there in support today. I did not have a chance to speak though. But for like a lot of parents and stuff, there are bills going on and flying around in regards to your kids and youth sports. Right now there's a big bill. Well, I'm not sure. It might have got voted down, hopefully, by this time. But we were there today about House Bill 1106. And what they're stating in the state of Maryland is that they want to eliminate youth tackle football and all football activities from the ages 14 to from like 6 to 14. So basically, grade school kids before you get to high school. They want to eliminate it totally. Last year, they want to eliminate it in the spring. So this year they changed it. So let me give you a quick history lesson. So last year they submitted a House bill. I think it was 1123 or something like that, right? So they submitted a House bill. Last year they got knocked down. So basically that was a complete elimination of youth tackle football in the state of Maryland. Like eliminate it.
Wow,
Right? Make it unlawful to participate in youth tackle football under the age of 14. This year that bill got unanimously shot down. Yeah, from the delegates and stuff. So this year they reintroduced the bill, and it's kind of more of a divide and conquer type plan.
Right.
So what they did, they reintroduced the bill, and instead of just canceling youth football, everybody knows what football is in this country at this point, right? It's a big deal. So instead of just canceling youth football, what they decided to do was limit youth football, where you can only play it from August to December. Most of us are, you're 30 or over, grew up in the 90s and the 80s. That's how it used to be. Right. The game has transformed now. Youth football is more relatable to, say, AAU basketball. All sports are at this point. Basketball kind of paved the way, but you can't name a sport that a kid can't play year-round, or at least 6 to 7 months out of a 12-month span. So right now, that's what they wanted to do. We were able to go forth and put forth a good argument. There were a lot of people there, so I'm hoping that I'm pretty confident that the bill would have been shot down. But I don't think a lot of parents, I know a lot of organizations, just people in the youth industry don't really know. So I know that the average parent who has their kid participating in sports and stuff don't understand what the state legislature, and it's not all of them, what some state legislators are doing, even without your consent. They're just going to pass a law, and then next year when your son comes around, he wants to play football in the spring or to participate in some type of activity, you're not going to be able to. It's going to be unlawful to do so.
Wow.
So when you get into those type of situations, I think that it's important, no matter where you kind of stand on it, if you understand that if you allow people to make decisions and choices and act laws, right, that are going to affect you, even if they're small. If you allow those small things to happen, they could cascade into a lot of bigger things. So
Right. So you mentioned something about the parents. What is the general sense or pulse with parents around these potential changes? Do they seem to be really for it, against it?
They don't know.
They don't know. Right.
That's the crazy part. I know in my organization, just the Maryland Buccaneers, if I wasn't as involved as I am, personally, in a lot of this stuff, they wouldn't know.
Right.
I mean, they wouldn't know. It's not even about what their opinion would be. They'd have no clue that it was happening. Right. It's not. I mean, I would charge anybody to show me an article somewhere in the Washington Post or the Washington Times this year, maybe a small one in this week, right? Where something of this magnitude. You have to think on the amount of kids in this area, right? When you start thinking of the Washington metropolitan area, the DMV, and how big Maryland is a part of that, right? Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland, we're a top 10 recruiting base, as far as Division I colleges go for athletes, right? You think there'd be some type of write-up. You think they'd be talking about what's going to affect that, right? So it's while there's an inherent risk, playing youth football, we all understand that. It's the same thing that there is in cheerleading, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got to tumble. It's the same thing there is in riding roller coasters. Any back and forth motion, any jolt, significant bumps of the head, you're on a roller coaster banging around, those are subconcussive forces. Those things can cause concussions too. Those things can be, eventually at some point in time possibly linked to having CTE. So it's not really a youth football thing. It's more like a witch hunt. But, we're just here to just address those issues from that standpoint, so that way the parents can be informed.
Right. Now, are there anything in the works to do any sort of research or gain any type of data around, could it even potentially be linked? I mean, we hear a lot about CTE when it relates to the NFL. Yeah. But then, realistically, it's exactly what you're talking about. Football is football. It's a dangerous sport. It is. But so are many other things. Could be potentially dangerous as well. So has there been any research done? Is there anything in the works, even potentially around those topics as it relates to the youth?
Yeah, so there's a lot of research being done. Here's the thing about it, though. These are factual things. There are times where kids could have concussions. The big, if you look into it now, the big thing is now about subconcussive forces. So it's really not necessarily about CTE anymore or concussions. those things we understand, but it's kind of what is the everyday, thing. So the CT, of course, they can't see it die, you can't die until you die, right? So it doesn't present itself, right? But they know that these guys that have it are playing contact sports. So what they're trying to see is are the subconcussive forces when these guys are younger, right? Over time, they're trying to link that to them ultimately having CTE or not having CTE. Right. But the truth of the matter is that even though there's a lot of research and there are a lot of varying opinions, none of it is factually based. It's all theoretical, right? So it's some really smart people working on this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So these are real things, but the linkage there has not been proven. Right. And that's the thing that parents have to understand, just do your own research first of all.
Yeah, for sure.
Right,
do
your own research.
Sure. That's big. That's big. You saying that right there. Do your own research. That's definitely a big thing right there. Is to educate yourself.
Yes.
On those. Are there any types of, in terms of education, are there any seminars? Are there anything that folks are doing to get educated on the topic?
Yeah. So the CDC, you can go to cdc.org, and they have a really interactive page for parents and kids and stuff like that to give you information on concussion guidelines, subconcussive forces. You got to take a little online test. I would suggest most parents do it. That's stuff that by fall 2019, and my organization will have it for our event organization, because we deal on a more national level. We've already enacted. If you go to our website, gladiatorsportingevents.com, you can find that information there where you can get information on concussions and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a load of information out there on concussions as it relates to youth. And youth football and the effect on your kids. The return to play forms and stuff are really big now. So a lot of the leagues, I know the national leagues are forcing us organizations to even give out return to play forms. So if your child's removed from a game, right, the coach isn't rushing them to come back. He has to go see a medical professional. Has to be signed. The signed documentation. We have to keep that, right. So the game is becoming safer. You won't talk to many professionals that won't tell you that the game is less safe now than it was last year or 10 years ago, right? So it's naturally moving in a more safe direction.
Well, that's awesome. And some of this also translating to then, I'm assuming it's youth sports, and it's translating to the high schools and all of that.
The high schools they're even more strict. So this is the thing. This is the landscape of youth sports, right? And people don't understand. So it's kind of a subculture, but it's a lot. It's not your grandfather's youth sporting industry anymore, right? So if you think like right now, this ain't Prince George's County, right? So we're sitting in Lanham. Okay, when I was a kid, I played for the Lanham Raiders, right? The Lanham Raiders were governed by the Prince George's County Boys and Girls Club, right? At the time, the Prince George's County Boys and Girls Club was the biggest and only football organization that you could participate in, right? So you had to be a unit member of that. So Lanham had to be a unit member of Prince George's County Boys and Girls to participate, right? So now, it's not that way. The independents are running everything. It's no different than the music label or anything like that, right? So the municipalities of the state and the counties aren't necessarily, even though they're governed by the state, they're not necessarily tied into actually what's going on in youth sports. So when you start trying to levy legislation and stuff, you're really getting your information from people who aren't involved, right? So the Maryland Buccaneers is a private organization. The Southern Maryland Conference, AYF, the American Youth Football League, is a national organization. Our conference would be similar, say, to Prince George's County Boys and Girls Club, right? But we're an independent. We're not governed by them. We only go to them to go for our facilities to get a permit for a field or something like that. So, the game has just really changed right now, man. So, I do believe that, as caretakers of youth sports, it is up to us to kind of, get our houses in order first. But then to present like we did today to the to the state delegates to show that, hey, you know what, we're making dramatic strides to make our game safer. What I did notice today, and I know I'm kind of jumping around and just
you good.
bulldozing the conversation
here. We're talking. That's what it's for. That's what it's for.
I'm bulldozing the conversation.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
So look, so we're talking and stuff, and in some conversation, it's just said that a lot of this stuff is coming up because in more rural areas, right? We talking about the mountains of Maryland, Western Maryland, stuff like that, right? It's not, youth sports is not as popular. Youth football in particular is not as popular as it is here. Here, there's a big following. Out there, it's less regulated. Nobody's really paying attention. So what's happening is that those people are in contact with the state, and they're complaining that, hey, this isn't right. The coaches don't know what they're doing. Yada, yada, yada. So what's happening is that the minority, right, of youth football coaches and organizations in Maryland, right, are having a ripple effect to affect the majority. The problem is, though, that the majority, we're just now gaining our voice, right? So it's coming to us now. We're starting to galvanize now and kind of repeal what is being said, because the truth of the matter is that there's a small group of people, and we can't make laws in our state to govern the majority based upon what a small group of people are doing, right? You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to people's liberties and what they, their God-given rights are to just, hey, I want my child to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So,
Right. Now, you mentioned a little bit about the culture of youth sports. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I hear it's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
So now it's how we got to plug youth sports in the support for our kids and even the parents and the coaches, everybody that's involved in youth sports. And I think you have an event coming up, right?
Yes.
So
So like
and everything you got coming up.
We have a thriving culture here in the Washington metropolitan area for youth sports. It's one to be rivaled with down south, whether it be Florida or Texas, Oklahoma, out west. It's really becoming more of a national game, and our kids and our organizations in this area are among the best in the country. So here locally, it's more like a subculture, right? So you have like hip hop subculture. Here we have like go-go subculture. That's really what it is in the youth football world, right? So to the average person, there's a bunch of things going on and happening.
That's awesome.
Parents are engaging with one another, creating bonds, kids traveling, doing all type of stuff. So it's really its own infrastructure. So it's a really cool thing that's going on. I think that everybody should get out and maybe support, youth sports a little more. There's a lot of kids out here that are in dire need of just attention.
Right.
And we don't touch on that a lot. Just all the kids who have parents. I know my team. Let's take my team for perspective for the Maryland Buccaneers. So my team is probably 85% of all single mothers.
Oh wow!
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for me, I have my own.
Real.
I got my own kids. I got 4 kids, right? So I got my own children, but because it's my passion, I'm dedicated to, right? It's like I got 12 children because
for sure.
there's 8 other kids, that I'm in constant contact with. Just last week I was at a player's school. I'm on their contact list and stuff like that or whatever, right? So, man, as a community, I know it's a bunch of things we could fight about and there's a bunch of things we could fight for, but like, don't knock those coaches and the organizations that are pushing sports and saying, hey, let your kid, because it's just another outlet. We all fighting the same fight at the end of the day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, the culture's thriving. We have a spring league coming up, the Gladiator sporting events. Spring football league.
Right.
So I'm about 7 years in doing spring flag. We started doing spring tackle last year as well. So we're geared up to start April 27th. We haven't got our field permits yet, so we're waiting on locations, but we'll be all over the DMV. We got teams from Baltimore, teams from DC, teams from Southern Maryland, Charles County, a lot of teams from PG County, so Montgomery County. So we're just growing as a league. We do have a summer tournament, so we're geared to throw the first youth football tournament in Ocean City. So it hasn't been done. So a couple years ago, a partner of mine, we talked about that. Say it again. Oh yeah, ages. I'm sorry, excuse me.
You can say them.
Yeah, it's fine. No, that's all good. I appreciate that, right? Yeah. So our league supports tackle football from ages 6 to 14. We also do flag footballs. Again, we've been doing flag football for 7 years. So we do nine-man flag football. If you're an adult flag football player, you play it's the adult game. We got the rules from USFTL. It's a sanctioned game. We just made it more safe for the kids, flag football. And so that's from ages 6 to 10. Right, so we do 6 to 10. There's some local 7-on-7 leagues because I'm here for the culture, so I'm gonna talk about it.
For sure.
The Metro Maryland Football Alliance, the first look 7-on-7 league. If you got a kid and you think that their team, they got what it takes to compete against the best in the area, you can check them out. They'll be playing every Saturday as well, starting at April 27th. And those guys are starting from, I believe, 10U to 14U. All right, there's a lot of. There's a lot of showcase, say, middle school leagues with 6th, 7th, 8th grade football going on, and it's just a lot going on, man. So if you have an opportunity, on a Saturday or something, and you ain't got nothing going on, man, just stop by a park or something, catch some of these games, man. So that's a lot of kids in our area right now. There's a kid, Haskins, with the Ohio State quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He's from here.
Right.
That kid's from here. That kid played spring football. That we all watching him. You know, and now he's getting ready. Has an opportunity to possibly be the first pick in the draft. Number one quarterback in the draft. You know, depending on how he finishes his combine. You know, I mean, that's we're seeing those kids when they're 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. You guys get to see them once they get to Saturdays and Sundays. But a lot of these kids, if you look at the draft, there's so many kids from this area in the league right now that nobody knows about until they get there. And the sad part about it is that they're here right now. We can touch them. You can interview them. You know, they're available. They want to do that. They actually need that type of training to make them a better pro when they get there, to make them better on the collegiate level to understand those things. So as a community, we just got to come together and support them.
Well, you know what? You're bringing up a great point in regard to, you know, even Dwayne Haskins being from here. And it's that you don't want to wait until their name is in lights getting ready for the combine and getting ready for their pro day in the NFL draft. I mean, these kids have been playing and need that support early on.
Yeah, and you can find them, man. That's the thing about it. You can find them. You know, shout out to all the private school, high schools. You know, shout out to Wise High School. Local high schools. I mean, these kids are playing for these schools. They're right in our backyard. They're playing the state championship games. You know, they're here. They're here before they're there, right? They're right in your backyard playing in the park as you pass by. So, you know, again, like I said, it's important that we just support all of them. 90% of these kids aren't going to go pro. You know, more than, 80% of them aren't going to play Division I football.
Right.
But I know for me as a kid, you know, the principles and stuff that I learned in life, a lot of my friends, and I call friends right now, guys I play football with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My business partner right now is a guy, you know, that in youth football, we played youth football together for like
you build those relationships, right? And you understand and learn about teaming.
Yes.
And teamwork and collaboration and just different personalities. And I'm sure it's a lot of life lessons anyway. We're talking sports, right? And the beauty of winning and losing.
Yes.
And how you get past all of that. So how do you all kind of shape that? Because you all are with these kids a lot of the time.
So you do come into a lot of mentorship opportunities, and it varies because, again, you have them for a specific amount of time. You know, you don't want the precedent to be about, winning all the time. However, breeding confidence in kids and stuff like that comes along with winning. This is a competitive society. America's a competitive country. Everything is about being the best and putting your best foot forward and being number one. So, we can't take that away from them. But you have to try to use those moments, like you said, for teachable moments, right?
Yes.
So, a kid's down, he's not really playing well. You have to be able to coach from different perspectives.
For sure.
My mom always was like, it's 4 of us, in the household, and she just say, y'all not always the same. I'll be like, Tanae might say, I'm like, well, how come she get the, LA? Well, how come Andy? But the truth of the matter, my mother's like, look, y'all all different. I can't parent you all the same, right? And that's how it is on the football field itself. You got 20 different personalities, and then you got to include their parents. I would be remiss if I didn't say this. So the other thing is, I mentioned that we all independents, right? So right now you have a bunch of young entrepreneurs who are getting their first shot at running businesses or starting businesses, right, through youth sports. I mean, we talking guys from their early 20s to mid 30s, that are right now, all these new organizations popping up. They're young business owners. They're young businessmen, and we're really just trying to learn. So we can show these kids. Okay, now we can. You don't make it in football, but hey, listen. I started this organization. I started this 501c3 nonprofit. I started a league. They get to see those from people that look like them.
Right.
But we don't necessarily go to other people to get that. Our kids can see that in their own community.
That's
so
awesome.
it's a well-rounded. It's a well-rounded thing.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're bringing up an awesome point of just being those mentors in the community that they don't have to necessarily go outside of the community to get.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity to enhance those relationships because we probably don't do enough of it. I mean, you and I have talked offline, but I don't mind saying this on the air about just the overall media coverage for youth sports and just how do we get. I mean, I don't want to wait until Dwayne Haskins is getting suited and booted for the draft. How can we get his name out here? Other kids, we're just using him as an example. We're just talking about it. But because not everyone gets a chance for that moment, there's still other moments that should be celebrated along the way.
Well, there are people,
and you know,
there are people in youth sports that are doing that. So, like I said, being as its own subculture. If you're on Facebook and you Google youth football groups and stuff, you'll see loads of stuff pop up.
Large community.
Now, there are people, there are media outlets in youth football, right? So it might just be a meeting of the minds, right? So those media outlets have all access to youth sports, youth kids, high school kids, and you have it to the pros. It might just be a meeting of the minds and you to meet one of these people being that, and then bridge that gap, right?
Yep.
Because you have a national, you know what I'm saying, you have a national ability to have a more national exposure to a totally different market.
For sure.
Because again, because it's a subculture, sometimes it doesn't leave outside of the culture, right? It kind of just stays right there. So sometimes it's just about making those relationships, and hopefully, I can be somebody to help bridge that gap.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. That sounds good. You're very passionate about it. That's the key. Passion. I tell people all the time, if you're passionate about something, let it flow. Yeah. Why not?
I mean, it's not the only thing I do. I got a life, I have a job, you know what I'm saying? I try to start other companies and stuff like that. So it's just, like you say, it's just what I'm passionate about. So, if it's somebody out there and you're passionate about doing something, you could do anything in this world you put your mind to. And it's 2019, so, at this point, if you're not attacking your goals in life and you're not, it's your fear that's blocking you. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure at some point before you decided to, hey, this is going to happen, it might have been what kept you up at night. Like the fear of it can be paralyzing sometimes. So, when you face that and you're able to overcome that, you just become a better person. Turn to a butterfly fly away.
For sure. That is awesome. I appreciate it. I'm like sitting here like, you know what? What am I doing on Saturday? What am I never doing on Saturday?
I'm going to let y'all know, man. Look, the league will start on the 27th. Right. I'm going to send you some dates. It's a 4-week season. And like I said, it's not just about my league. It's other stuff going on in the area. But because I know you, I would like to, bring you into that. It's just to see what's going on and see the environment. And you can have, if you want, we have opportunity for you to interview some people, some kids, stuff like that.
It's always
give them some
good.
Opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's awesome because it's also good to give the kids that opportunity too to get interviewed.
Yeah.
Now you got a camera in your face.
They love that
and a real interview, and it's, you could go here to post it. I mean, we did a lot of shout outs and things for National College Signing Day.
Yeah.
And so once we did that, and even got the kids looped into that, like just hearing their name being called,
they like you, man.
They're like, oh yeah, that's me. Sending me messages and everything. I'm like, that's what's up. But no, we're proud of them, and it's something positive, and it's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's always a good thing.
Absolutely. I didn't mean to hijack the show.
Oh no, that's what it's for. I was like, man, look, we talking youth sports today. Is that what we doing? Yeah. And I remember I told you, I said we gonna talk youth sports unless something comes up in DC sports, which it did.
Absolutely.
So last Thursday, we had the pleasure of dealing with Bryce Harper, saying that he was going, finally, he was going to the Phillies. So we had to deal with that on the show, which was like, really?
Yeah,
like, you had to do this on a Thursday? Yeah. And so today, it is the Redskins trading for Case Keenum. I know you're a Redskins fan.
I am a Redskins fan, man. I tried to quit him. I tried to quit him last year, man. I tried to go date Baltimore, and in a week they let me down. I said, "Jeez, Louise." Oh man, I tried. Like being a Redskins fan is like being in a relationship with a girl who was just like bad 20, 30 years ago, and she just messed around on you, and you know what I'm saying?
Stayed
And everybody kept telling you like, "Man, she ain't this, she ain't." You like, "Nah, but I love her though." You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. But Case Keenum, man, I don't know. I guess they got a plan of what they want to do. I don't know if it's more of a cap reason or they just looking for a backup for their potential starter. But I am not sold as a Redskins fan on our future being any better with Case Keenum. I mean, but look, even they were showing some of his stats earlier today. He almost has identical stats to what's his name, Alex Smith from last season.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
but Alex Smith wasn't having the best year last year. But this like, come on, man.
You're gonna get more of the same. It'll be more of the same, just for a cheaper price.
Just for a cheaper price.
I really, this is my gut feeling. From when the conversation started early this morning, honestly, when the news came to me, and talking with some of my sports media colleagues, talking with Lake Lewis, and all morning, and I was like, this has got to be financial purposes. Now, at the end of the day, if you pay attention to some of the things, they start dropping nuggets, right? Because remember, there was conversations about early on, there was conversation about potentially Nick Foles, and it was like, okay, they show interest in Joe Flacco, and everybody's like, that's crazy. And then even when it came up with Case Keenum, it was like, that's crazy. He costs too much. They found a way, and they figured it out. So he's only like $3.5 million.
Yeah.
Truthfully, and then they're still working through. Well, yeah, I think they give like $10 million. Every team gets like a $10 million bump or something on their cap. So, not only that, it's just, you know, they're still in play for Josh Rosen. You know, I have not gotten a message, no craziness. So that's still in play. What's funny is, and what's interesting is, and we're almost time to tune out, is maybe they don't like Colt so much after all.
Who knew?
Who knew? Colt is a very nice person. He's a very, very nice person. I can vouch for that. He's a very nice person. He's nice.
Colt's not going to show up for the training.
But Colt stay hurt, and Colt
Colt
might be out. So
Do us the favor.
Do us the favor.
But let me just say thank you so much for joining.
No problem.
I don't think I've seen you since high school. We're not going to tell nobody how long ago that was. But I don't think I've seen you
Y'all
since
remember
then.
the Bowie High School fashion shows?
Them Bowie High School fashion shows used to be lit. And then what they say now is lit. But anyway, thank y'all so much for joining. Have a beautifully blessed evening, and we will see you next Thursday.
Absolutely.
Sports is what we do. It's the fast track at peak speed, moving across the ice, blockers, hitters, B-team, beatdowns, and knockouts, doubleheaders, playoffs, touchdowns, smackdowns, on the mat or on the track. The spirit of a champion. The triple-double. Make that double front flip. This is what we do.